Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So finally, after over 5 years away, I made my way back to the movie theaters today to check out M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Knock at the Cabin. So this is one that I was really looking forward to because it's actually based on a Paul Tremblay novel called The Cabin at the End of the World. This is one that I liked. I think I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, and I remember thinking to myself when I was reading it that this would make a really good movie, and then lo and behold, one of my favorite directors of all time is directing it. So, of course, I had to make my way to the theater to see it. And this is actually one of my media goals or entertainment goals for the year, was to get to the theater at least one time in 2023. Very happy to say that I did that. So with that in mind, let's talk about my thoughts, spoiler-free, on Knock at the Cabin. Before we do, though, if you guys have a quick second, hit that like button down below. That engagement really does help me out. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into my review of M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. Alright, so Knock at the Cabin from 2023 is basically the story of one family's ultimate sacrifice in order to save the many. And so basically we are following this family of 3. They are on vacation in this cabin in the woods. It is 2 fathers and 1 daughter. She's adopted and she is absolutely adorable. I think she does a wonderful job in this, especially given her young age. And one of the men in this is played by Jonathan Graff, who is amazing. He's actually the lead character in Mindhunters, which is, for my money, the best thing that Netflix ever canceled, because that was one of my favorite shows ever, and I'm so disappointed that we don't have a season 3 yet. But anyway, he plays Holden in that, and he's amazing, and he does a really great job here. The other male lead, honestly, I didn't recognize him from anything, and looking through his filmography, not super familiar, but he does an awesome job as well. But anyway, this family of 3 is then greeted by this group of 4 individuals who are claiming that they are there to help prevent the apocalypse. But the only way that can be done is if one of these 3 family members are sacrificed, and they can't kill them. The family has to murder one of their own in order for the apocalypse not to happen. And so that's essentially what this movie is about without getting into any spoilers. And it is pretty crazy. The film is, is this real? Is it not? Are these things that they're saying, is it coincidence, or is there some actual validity to the claims that they're making? And is this family really the answer in order to prevent the apocalypse? I do want to elaborate a little bit on the acting in this because I think it's done so well. So again, our 2 male leads I think are fantastic in this. Both of them are very distinct from one another, which I think is super important in something like this. And then our main little girl is so good as well. When she, like I said, she's super cute, and I feel like her age shows a little bit, but only in very minor moments at the beginning, because honestly she kind of goes into the background a little bit as the film goes on, which once, if you see it, you kind of understand why, or if you know the story, you understand why. But I think she does a really good job for what she's asked to do. And then you have our 4 intruders, we'll call them, and they are led by Dave Bautista and Rupert Grint. So just an amazing cast on this, and I think they are all phenomenal. In particular, I want to highlight Bautista, because the fact that, I know Bautista because I'm a huge wrestling fan, and so I know Dave Bautista as this WWE superstar for all these years, and then all of a sudden he started showing up in my movies, and I'm like, what is Bautista doing in these movies? Well, it's because he's phenomenal. He is an excellent actor, and for my money, this is his best role. I love him in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's also in another movie whose name is totally escaping me. I didn't even know he was in it until I started watching it, and he's really great in it. But in this, I think, his character is something very unique to what he's done in the past. He is this giant man, but he's playing this 2nd grade school teacher who is in this just absurd situation, and just the way he handles it is so interesting, because at the beginning he feels very stilted, and, someone who might not understand what's going on, they might think, this acting isn't good at all, but it's very intentional. Bautista shows his range here, and he is so capable of pulling it all off and does so really well. Right from his opening introduction all the way to the very end of this movie, he is just excellent in this role. And again, I think it's his best role yet, which is saying something because I love him in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's more of kind of, he's not showing a lot of emotion in that at all. Whereas something like this, it just runs the gamut, you know, from start to finish. And he's just so great. And so it's so cool to see one of my favorite wrestlers growing up just evolve into this incredible actor. And he does a fantastic job in Knock at the Cabin. And then Rupert Grint, he's always great. We all know that. That's no surprise there. But there are the two female leads in this as well. There's Nikki Amuka Bird, who plays Sabrina, who is like a registered nurse, and the way she handles the situation is so well done. There's one scene in particular where she really shines. She's telling the story of her past and how she's not really a religious person, but once these visions started happening that kind of led them to this cabin, she was reminded of a story that her father told her, and it's a really well done scene. And then there's Abby Quinn, who is our fourth intruder, and she's great also because she has just one scene in particular that really stands out for her that's done so well, and it just makes you feel for the character. Whether you believe her or not is up to audience interpretation, but it's just so cool to watch. Whenever there is such a small cast like this, when they're so good at what they do, it really helps drive home a film, and that's exactly what M. Night Shyamalan was able to do here. Cast just an incredible set of 7 actors who do a fantastic job in this film. And let's talk a little bit about M. Night Shyamalan's directing here, because this felt a little bit different than anything else I've seen from him prior to this. To me, this felt like he was taking a lot of chances, which made it really interesting to watch. For example, there are some shots in this that have our main character, who is actually talking, delivering the lines, they're in the background and they're out of focus, where in the foreground we have the character that's listening, and obviously normally that's swapped, but I think that is so intentional and interesting because here, in this movie in particular, it's not so important about what's being said. What's more important is how the person listening is receiving that information. Are they believing it? Are they soaking it in? How is it affecting them? And so it's a very intentional choice by Shyamalan that I think helps deliver the story of this film in just a smarter way than someone less talented might be able to do. In addition to that, there are some shots in this that have our main character that's in the shot kind of out of the middle of the frame. He might be over in this section of the frame, or maybe even down here. There's one shot in particular I remember towards the end of the film that has our main character's head in the bottom third of this with all of this head space above him. And it's just, you don't typically see that, and so it stood out to me. And again, it feels intentional, and I loved it because it felt a little, I don't know, risky, I guess, for M. Night Shyamalan to do. That's just one example. There are quite a few in this where it has our main character, the person we might be wanting to watch, is kind of in a weird spot in the frame. And I think that's just interesting. And so kudos to Shyamalan for taking some chances here because, again, it doesn't feel like we normally see with him. And so I love when filmmakers are willing to go and do different things than they've done in the past. And it really works here. The biggest difference between the Paul Tremblay novel and Shyamalan's film has to be the ending, which, again, no spoilers at all, but I will say that the book is a lot more ambiguous. It is left up to the reader's imagination or interpretation a lot more, whereas in the film, Shyamalan really goes for it. There's no, like, interpreting. There's no interpreting anything in this, and so you could love that, you could hate that, but either way, it is a big difference from the book. Now, for my money, I think the worst part of the book was actually the ending. So the fact that M. Night Shyamalan does something differently here is a good thing in my eyes, but it's not going to be for everybody. If you're someone who absolutely loved the book, you might not appreciate the route that M. Night Shyamalan takes in this, and I totally understand that. And even with that said, I still don't know if I loved the ending of this. Really, this feels like a story that is just never going to have a perfect ending. It's definitely one where the journey to the ending is more important and more interesting than kind of that final conclusion. And so, did I love the ending? Did I hate the ending? Neither, I think. I'm kind of in the middle. I do appreciate it more than I liked the book's ending, but I don't know if it's perfect. I don't know if it's great. It has to end one way, right? And this is the way Shyamalan chose to end it. So Knock at the Cabin is just a fascinating one to me because you mix home invasion thriller with disaster film, and then you wrap it all up in a pretty little apocalyptic bow, putting on top of all of that incredible acting from a cast of 7 that do a phenomenal job, and then some different and unique directing by M. Night Shyamalan, one of my favorite directors out there. This just comes together to a really enjoyable film. Again, I do think this is better than the book, But if you love the book, you might not love the movie, so keep that in mind going into it. If you don't know anything about this, I definitely recommend this one. Do you need to rush out the theaters to see it? I don't know. You might be able to wait for that home media release, but that's entirely up to you. So anyway, with all of that said, I am going to give M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin from 2023 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, so those were my thoughts on Knock at the Cabin. And before I sign off here, I do just want to give a couple of brief thoughts on my theater-going experience since it's been 5 years. Actually, the theater I went to an Imagine. It shut down back in 2017 after I stopped going to the theaters, and then reopened as a new theater company. And then that shut down, and then in the exact same building, this same Imagine opened back up. And so it's crazy how that like circle of life happened there. But finally, I went back, and it was a decent experience. My only complaint was that the seats didn't go back as far as I would have liked them to. When I was going to another theater around me, an MJR, those seats, from what I recall, those go back almost all of the way, whereas these didn't. And so that was disappointing because I'm normally used to sitting at my, in my couch where the seats go back as far as I want them to. And so that was a disappointment. I'll probably try MJR the next time I hit up the theaters, which hopefully will be Scream 6 with my wife, but fingers crossed, we shall see. So that was a little disappointing, and I didn't get any of the audience interaction, which for my money is a good thing because I went at like 11:15 on a Wednesday, so there were only 2 other people in the entire theater with me. But yeah, so when I go see Scream 6, hopefully that'll be kind of the full theater going experience, for better or for worse. But anyway, with all of that said, let me know what you guys thought about Knock at the Cabin. Did you read the book? Did you like the book better than I did? Did you like the movie better? Let me know what your thoughts are on Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan, and anything else you might want to talk about down in the comments below. I appreciate any and all comments down there, so thanks so much for that. But with that said, guys, if you enjoyed this one, please hit that like button down below. That engagement really does help me out. If you didn't, thumbs down. That tells me I need to change something as well. And like I always say, I don't just talk movies, I talk all things media. Books, movies, video games, graphic novels, manga, records. If it's media related, I'm interested in it, and if you are too, you might consider subscribing. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching this one, and I want to encourage you to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.